master plans. We're coming off a pretty crucial stretch for Montgomery County with White Flint, Germantown, Science City, the Schwarzbrook Initiative opening up Shady Grove, Metro. Do we have plans yet for how to finance the infrastructure that will actually make all that possible?
I think we're getting fairly close on White Flint. I think we should be making some announcements in the next few days. I feel very good that we will be able to resolve that. I think that the challenge for all of this, and it goes back to the question you raised earlier about the gasoline tax. The state transportation trust fund is at an all-time low. And so for us to advance some of the projects and some of the growth that we want, it's going to need an infusion of dollars in the transportation trust fund to help. The Quarter City Transit is necessary for us to complete the second stage of the Science City. We need the Purple Line, and we need those things to happen sooner than later, and that's a real fight. So we need to get help at the federal level in order to make those things happen. So it's not going to be easy, but I see great promise with that, but it shows for us a plan that is workable, one that gets us started and allows us to create some jobs and to have the benefits for our residents.
Is the White Flint plan going to be sort of a template for how you apply it to Science City, Germantown, Shady Grove?
No, I think you have to look at each one differently because you're looking at a much more urban sector here in White Flint. Our challenges in Wheaton are different because of the social economic impact and not having the kind of big businesses that are there. We have a different kind of a mix in the Science City area. So the clustering of so many potential firms in the White Flint area allows you to do some things that they're probably not as available out in the Germantown area because you're dealing with open space, there's farmland around and residential communities around, whereas you have a high-rise apartments, commercial sector in that hub already. So there are different things there. So each one, I think, needs to be evaluated separately.
Patches are inherently local, and Sean and I represent Rockville and Gaithersburg, respectively. How much of this, in recent rounds of budget savings plans, local jurisdictions have been saddled with a lot of challenges. One that comes to mind in Gaithersburg is the County Senior Center. There was a $100,000 payment that was made each year to sort of offset the cost of the county facility and city facility combining years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What other areas in the future do you see in this cost savings plan being put onto the shoulders of local jurisdictions?
Well, one of the things that we had a what is called a local payment that we made, cost sharing payment that we made to the local communities. And for the first 3 years, I maintained a rather consistent payment. It didn't move, it was just consistent for 3 years. Last year in the savings plan, I recommended it be reduced by 20%, which was a huge impact. The council restored some of that, and I think the impact was maybe 10% or thereabout. But it was reduced. You see, for example, although it's a county facility, we have slowed down on the interim library for Gaithersburg because of the financial concerns and how we work through that. You clearly see that as it relates to highway maintenance dollars that we have. And so all of us will have to shoulder more of this. And this is why when you see the inability to get the revenues that I've just described from the ambulance fee and other places, it has a ripple effect right down the line. Because keep in mind that we've hit all of those departments and agencies across the board. Libraries, for example, hit almost 30% last year. And we reduced, in the recommendation, 20% to the local communities in Germantown, Gaithersburg, and Tacoma Park, and Rockville, and other places. And so it means that we have to make that up. And unfortunately, a lot of those places will be hit again. And we won't get back to some level of sustained funding and stability, I think, until sometime much later on. Hopefully it's not a recommendation of 20%, but there was a recommendation last year of that magnitude. But we're going to have to deal with it.
How much do you figure that the Sunday liquor sales will?
I have no idea. And that's why I didn't put any monies in the budget to reflect a program of changing the liquor sales to Sunday. And one of the concerns that I have is that, A, it is happening at a time of recession. And so liquor sales overall are down. I think last year I saw somewhere where the premium stuff is not selling as well, so people are buying the cheaper brand of liquor. And then secondly, does it reflect simply a cannibalization of the sales, whereby you spread them out over 6 days over 7 days as opposed to 6 days? The person who's going to buy $20 worth of alcohol, $30 worth of alcohol a month, they didn't change their amount that they were going to buy. They just bought it on Sunday as opposed to Saturday or Friday. Well, that doesn't change the mix, and we have to continue to operate the stores. We have to hire the people in the stores to run the utilities and so forth, and it will cost us $15,000 to $20,000 a week just to continue to add that Sunday day there. So we have to make up that difference, and I'm not sure. And this is why I said before I fully adopted that, does it make sense economically? Do we lose any monies as a result of this, or do we gain additional sales? And so the answer to your question, I really don't know. So this is only a pilot for 6 months. We'll evaluate it, and then after the evaluation, I'll make a recommendation about what we should do long term. But right now, we simply do not know.
So at this point, that this decision is not firmly targeting that $14 million gap?
No. I mean, even at the most optimistic estimates, they were talking about maybe another $1 million a year.
Okay. And any thought that the county would ever privatize the liquor stores?
Well, I looked at that when I was on the county council years ago, and I've asked for a review of it now. But what I saw, at least at that point in time, did not suggest to me that there would be a great economic benefit for it. And what we get now is somewhere between roughly $28 million net profit to the county a year. Now, let's look at what has happened in Virginia. Virginia is now evaluating that question. And the governor went out with a rather bold proposal to do it. And he's having to step back somewhat because the critics don't see the economic benefit that he's talked about, both short-term and long-term. Clearly, there are a variety of ways in which you can do this. You can franchise off the liquor operation, and somebody pays a franchise fees and you get that. You can sell it all off, and you can maybe get a huge influx of money immediately. If someone buys all the liquor that we have, they purchase all of the warehouses and so forth, and maybe pay a franchise fee up front and a certain amount after that. But the question is not getting $150 million, just using that as a number, for a one-time payment and a small franchise fees of a couple of $1 million a year versus getting $28 to $30 million every year doesn't seem to me like it's a very good bargain for the taxpayer. And so I need to be convinced that that makes sense economically, and I haven't seen a model or program that someone has come to me to say that this makes sense economically.
Did you say that this is being reviewed now? That this is still
No, we will review it again.
You will review it
we
again.
will.
And how does that happen?
I'm just simply going to ask that the department go back and look at how this could, because I've been asked that in wake of what's happening in Virginia. I know they reviewed it when I was on the county council, and it simply didn't measure up to the revenue potential loss that we would have.
How soon would that happen with the department?
Probably sometime after we've had the Sunday sales. I want to combine all of those questions in together.
So after that 6-month period?
Yeah, we're going to do two things. One, I promised people that I will review the privatization, which I will. And then secondly, but the point that comes before, it would be the Sunday sales, because that doesn't take as much of a lead way in which to do it. But we're going to look at that.
And then do that review after the Sunday sales are piloted so that you have some data to look back at?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do that that 6-month period, and then
Mhm.
they go to